Well, today what we're going to do is have some fun with chameleon powders from Let's Resin and their great big Let's Resin snail mould. I love the size of this mould. I think it's going to be look and feel amazing. And it also says on here, which is really useful for a mould, 9.9 fluid ounces. Now, I have found over the last couple of years that Let's Resin moulds have really upped their game and they are so much better quality than a lot of the other moulds that are out there. So they're well worth investing in, I feel now. What I'm going to do is a pattern inside of here going around with all different colours of this chameleon powder, and I'm using a little sponge brush. I learnt this after testing out the mica pens, that the sponges work really well for putting on mica powder or powders onto silicone moulds as opposed to the brushes. They do a much better job. You do need to make sure that your mould is lovely and clean as well. Now, these chameleon powders are beautiful. The colours and the iridescence and all the different effects you get from them are amazing. So I've got, as you can see in there, I've got a nice covering of that colour. So I'm going to put the lid on because if not, you know what I'm like. I will knock it over. And now I'm going to work my way around using a different colour. And then I'm going to keep doing that until I've completed the inside of the shell. I will link these in the description below, so don't worry if you are unsure how to get hold of them. And if I have a discount code, I'll also put that in the description below as well. I don't always have one, but if I do, I always share it. Well, finished now painting all that in there, like with those brushes, and there was hardly any waste or mess either as well, and that makes a big difference. And those brushes are so cheap. Now, I would normally use a deep cure for this size of mold, but I think it's the size of mold that I can get away with using medium cure, so I haven't got to wait 72 hours for it. Now, before I go ahead and do anything, I want those little stalks. I don't know what the biological term for them is, that the snail puts out. So what I've done is I've mixed up a little bit of resin here using some white mica powder. Now, when this is finished, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these for door stops. So I also want to add some additional weight to it so they'll hold the door, because obviously resin isn't that heavy, as we know. Filled my pipette up, and what I'm going to do is inside those little stalks, I'm going to push my pipette right down to the bottom and then fill the stalk up. Now, I will get some bleeding of colour coming through the stalk and into the stalk of the background colour, but I don't mind about that at all. That really isn't going to cause me any problems. Now, make sure you go right down to the bottom when you fill this up, rather than just fill it up from the top, because that way you're less likely to get any problems with air trapped in it. And once you've got those filled, the way that this mold is designed, you can get your finger into there just to do a little bit of squidgy with it, widgy there, to make sure that you've got as many trap bubble out as possible, because we don't want trap bubbles in there, do we? Now, you could do this bit first and then cure it up and pour your resin in it afterwards, but who's got time for that? So with the resin I've got left over, I'm going to put some black mica powder in this. I always find, and I know a lot of other people find as well, that putting black really does give a great base colour to any of the colours and really does help show them off significantly. So make sure you've got that very well mixed in. You don't want bits that are just powder in there. And now, to help add some additional weight to this, what I'm adding to it is some sand, and I'm adding quite a bit of sand. Now, this sand will definitely sink to the bottom of the mold because I'm not filling it right up, obviously, and it will create a lot of air bubbles because there's a lot of air in that sand. But we're not going to worry about that too much because this is not a clear piece anyway, so it's not going to cause it to be spoiled by that. But what it will do is it will add additional weight to it for making a good doorstop. Make sure you give that sand a really good mix in as well. And again with sand, because it's a dry ingredient, it isn't going to affect the curing of the actual resin. I want to pour this in here now. I'm going to pour it in fairly slowly because I want to make sure that it fills up really well. And then when I get to this bit where the lip is and those other bits, I'm going to slant that in again as well. So it pushes the bubbles out as it's filling, and keep it on a slant until I've got it completely, or as full as I can get it without tipping it back. And then I'm going to fill this right up to there. So I mixed up just about the right amount of resin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm gently going to tap this and give it a bit of squidgy widgy, and I will still pop all those bubbles that have come to the top. And then once I've done that, I will top it up again because I want it to have quite a nice flat base. Now remember, don't spoil your molds, people. We get away with it every now and again with the torch, but please use a long neck lighter. It will really increase the life of your molds, especially if you've bought a really nice, good quality mold. Use a long neck lighter. Don't use alcohol either, because alcohol dries out the silicone far quicker and you'll get a lot less life. So look how lovely and clear of bubbles that long neck lighter has made that. I will give that 10 more minutes, and then I'll go over it again and burst any of the bubbles that are there that I can get rid of. And now I'm going to leave this to cure up overnight. This is all cured now, and it cured up really well. The only thing is now to get it out, and it is quite a large mould. So how I would suggest you get this out is to release it all the way around like this first, and then take the head end out first. And there we go, that's the snail all finished. I love how these chameleon flakes really do create, look at that body there, all the different tones and sparkle in it, and going round the shell as well. And this has got a lot of lovely details in. I'm sure this must have been cast from a real snail shell. I'm not 100% sure. Now the sand did go down into the white bits there. I probably should have let them cure up first, but you know me and my patience, or lack of patience. I love the chameleon powders. If you haven't tried them, then you definitely want to get hold of them. They do them in sets, and again, I will link them down in the description below. This has got a really nice weight to it now, and I think it's going to make a great doorstop during the summer when I want to keep all my doors open. If you don't want to use sand, you could always use nuts and bolts and things like that to put in it to give it a bit of weight. And once it's cured up, then it's going to give that extra weight than the resin would give. And obviously, and you could just paint it whatever colour you wanted to paint it. Hope you've enjoyed this project. I've loved it. I love the mould. I love the chameleon powders. Highly, highly recommend them. They can be used for so many different things. Please boot that like button if you've enjoyed this project. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. Take care. Enjoy your resin. Bye.